What is going on, everybody out there in Collecticlix Nation? Welcome to another installment of a theme team keyword breakdown thing. Today, I really wanted to go over a detective keyword. Now, I did put a poll up on my Facebook page asking everybody what they wanted me to build around. I did this because I really want my YouTube channel to cater to the viewer. I don't want to do what I want to do all the time. I want to do what you guys want me to do. So if there's any piece that you really enjoy playing with that you think might have potential in the high level meta, or maybe you don't think it has any potential, but you really enjoy that character, go ahead and comment it down below and we'll see what we can do about it. Um, Now, some options that I did put on the poll were the Death Metal Wonder Woman and the Genesis and some other things, some of the chases from Avengers Forever. And judging by the results, everyone's really excited about those pieces, but everybody also wants to dive into, different keywords that are viable in today's meta. And I gotta say, today's meta, outside of Legacy Thanos and Legacy Apocalypse, it's pretty wide open. And today I chose the detective keyword because we got a new piece in the Hellfire Gala set. We got Polaris. And if I told you that I've been waiting 3 months for this one piece to drop out of this box set, I wouldn't be lying to you. She's a poor man's Venom Magneto. So you can buy her in the Hellfire Club box. It comes with a pack and I think 6 other characters, something like that. It's a whole buttload and a super nice box. But you can get all that for $70, whereas it's going to cost you upwards of $250 for a Venom Magneto. Hopefully this piece helps drive his price down because she does have the X-Men keyword as well and can work on an X-Men swap. She does cost 40 points as opposed to Venom Magneto's 35, but she has 4 clicks to go along with it and top dial outwit. That being said, she doesn't have the passenger 4 or any of the other cool things like the awesome leadership he gets on his last dial, senses. You can target her from inside of 4 squares, all this other stuff that Venom Magneto has. She does not have. So if you do have a Venom Magneto, I would go ahead and keep him on your X-Men swap. But if you don't have a Venom Magneto and you don't want to run X-Men swap, the only other keyword she has is detective. So I really wanted to dive into this because not only do we have some awesome pieces for detective, but I'm a huge, huge DC fan. When I got out of the game a while back, DC was still making, 2 sets a year, and seeing them come down to one really, yeah, it grinds my gears. If I'm being honest with you. But this upcoming DC set should be huge for Detective, and I don't think there's any way around that with the Scooby Gang and the world's greatest detective, Batman, being the focal point of the set. I would even expect some keyword cheats and hopefully a swap mechanic for the keyword. But, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, every day would be Christmas. Is that how the line goes? But that being said, Detective does bring on an interesting piece that I haven't had the chance to go over with you guys. And if you know what it is and what it does, then good for you. But we're going to go over it here just real fast. And it is the Buy It by the Brick Plastic Man. Now, is, he's just weird. He's annoying and super hard to kill for 20 points. And I feel like he's going to take a lot of playtesting for people to get used to him or to even play around him, honestly. The main thing he does is he runs up into your opponent's force and swaps into one of these indestructible and immovable objects. Just things that they can't really mess with unless they have a character on their force that can mess with objects. Um, and he's got 5 objects out now. He did come with the mailbox, which states that it states give an action token to an adjacent opposing character. So you would run him up if you wanted to and swap him into the mailbox. And free action give a action token to an adjacent opposing character. Now that's just super annoying if they're running a tentpole team or a one-man army, something like that, because they can't do anything about that object. They just get that action token, and hopefully if you played it right, the next turn they would have to clear. The top left object, the fire hydrant, says roll a d6 and knock back an adjacent opposing character equal to the result. So it's only opposing characters, so you can't do any crazy double TK kind of things. But once knockback damage does come back into the game, this might be an even more powerful object. I only see it being used situationally at the moment, but it's just not one that you need to go out of your way to go and get, unless you want the whole set. The one on the top right is the barricade, and this might be one of the objects that you will want to go and get. It says opposing characters must end movement when they move adjacent to the barricade. So if you got a little kill box set up on negative zone, or if you got a really narrow map, you can swap into this object and make it so that your opponent has to find another way around in order to get to your force while you set up all your pieces for your attack. In the bottom left, you have the traffic cone, which says that opposing characters that begin movement within 4 squares of it modify their speed -2. This is another one like the fire hydrant, very situational, but can be very potent. And in the bottom right, you have the traffic barrel, and it says opposing characters within 4 squares cannot use improved movement. This is another one that you might want to go out and get your hands on, because it does nerf characters like Sky Tyrant when he wants to run away, or characters like Thanos when he wants to phase, or any flyers that want to go past your entire force. If they get within 4 squares of this traffic barrel, they cannot use any more improved movement abilities. Now, besides Plastic Man, Detective brings on all the Batmans. And I've gone over Batman and Jarro in one of my previous videos, so first we're going to go over Batman and Catwoman. Now, this is the first character that I've seen in a while with the Batman enemy team ability, and in the future I might make a video just taking advantage of that, because the Batman enemy team, like, just having that on my team would make me feel so good. Just the nostalgia of it with all the great Jokers and everything else that we had back in the day. Um, he also has a Batman ally team ability, and he starts with a 3 range double bolts, comes in at 35 or 75 points, but you really want to play him on the 35-point line, where he starts with a 10 movement charge, 10 attack quake, 17 defense willpower, and 3 damage with a special. And he's only 3 clicks long. And you might say, well, that's really squishy with just, stealth and willpower. But he does have a couple traits on here that really help him elevate other pieces on your team and mess with your opponent, especially with Plastic Man on your force. He has improved movement, elevated in characters, and a trait that says a wedding party of 2. Sidestep, combat reflexes. Opposing characters within 6 squares and line of fire cannot use sidestep. And his second trait says on a rooftop in southern Gotham. Batman and Catwoman can't be targeted by opposing characters occupying a square of lower elevation. His special on damage is called Bat and Cat, Outwit, and PC. Free if Batman and Wonder Woman occupy hindering terrain, they may use Outwit and PC an additional time this turn. So this is a great little support kind of maneuver piece that can really hinder your opponent. Sidestep is just such a powerful thing that when it's not on your character, you really notice, and when it is, you don't really notice. You just kind of do it. But taking that away from your opponent, especially when they've spent the 5 points for the cloak, let's say, can really help hinder them and keep them away from your force. Not only that on top of the objects that you can bring out with Plastic Man, it's really going to make it difficult for them to get around his objects. Now, you do want to make sure that you do get on a map with a little bit of hindering terrain on it so that you can put him up in that little sniper's nest and make sure that your opponent cannot target him from lower elevation. Another piece that we haven't really had the chance to go over is the Invincible AntMan, and he is a prime, but I felt like this team really needed some oomph to it, some attacking power to it, and the prime Invincible AntMan ain't bad. He has the Avengers team ability, comes in at 75 points, and a 6-range single bolt. He does not fly, and his movement is 8, 11 attack, 18 defense, invincible, and 3 damage with the tiny symbol and leadership. His first trait says weaponized robot ants at the beginning of the game generate a robot ant bystander, max of 4. When Invincible AntMan hits with a range attack, after resolutions generate a robot ant bystander in a square adjacent to a hit target. I am AntMan is the second trait. It says free, choose one. Invincible AntMan can use the chosen effects until he chooses again. Protected Pulse Wave. Super Senses and modify defense +1, or standard damage symbol and modify attack and damage +1. His special on attack is Pulse Wave. When Invincible AntMan uses it, you may choose to use it as if he also occupied the squares of all of his robot ant bystanders. If you do, if there are 3 or more robot ant bystanders on the map, hits characters are dealt 2 damage instead of 1, and after resolutions, KO all his robot ant bystanders. His special on defense that he has on his last click is a stop click with toughness. He is 7 clicks long, and that pulse wave mechanic is amazing. So the way I envision this happening is Plastic Man carrying up a robot ant bystander, which are tiny and autonomous, carrying them up into my opponent's force and then free swapping into one of his objects. Now, this would make it so that my Ant-Man could just sit in the back and pulse wave, making it so that my object doesn't get KO'd, but I'm still pinging my opponent for 1 pulse wave every turn. The Ant-Man or the robot ant would be KO'd, but because I hit with an attack with Ant-Man, I would be able to generate another one and make it so that my opponent really has to deal with those robot ants and Plastic Man's object before they can come in against my force. Now, like I said, I need a little bit more oomph, but I also need a way to get around stop clicks. And as we've gone over, Batman and Jarro might just be the way to do it, because it does give me mind control with Jarro with a range of 8, and he is also autonomous. So I'm going to have a lot of action economy with this team, with the robot ants and Jarro both being autonomous, and a free TK from Polaris. There's just so much that I can do with this team that I feel like this has to be good. So Jarro has sidestep with a mind control with a range of 8, and then Batman can just pop him out. They both have the Batman Ally team ability, so they both have stealth. I love this Batman. He's gonna go on every team I can put him on, honestly. He is awesome, and that Jarro bystander just chef's kiss, am I right? And on any good detective team, you do need the commissioner, and he like I said before, he is the most cost-effective piece in the game outside of the Flashes. And altogether, this rounded out to 280 points. So I went ahead and put the Warlock Sword on Batman and Jarro to give them an extra rollout and a little bit of plasticity just in case they do get based by somebody. And I gave the Angler to Batman and Catwoman just in case they need to get away from whatever elevated terrain they are on. That concludes my detective theme team keyword build, everybody. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and learned something. Maybe you got some new ideas for that Invincible Ant-Man that you're excited to build around. And maybe you learned a little bit about Plastic Man and some of the crazy things that he can do, as well as Batman and Catwoman. I know I said hindering terrain at an earlier point in this video when referencing Batman and Catwoman's trait. I did mean elevated terrain. You do want to stick them on a piece of elevated terrain. You also want them in hindering to make use of their stealth. But make sure you do put them on elevated terrain to make sure that you can not be targeted by characters from lower elevation. All that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. Peace out.